Okay, and welcome to the latest episode of the Somnova Podcast. I'm the director, Hamadai, and with me we got a couple other people. So we'll just start from the top down.
Oh, is that me? Hello,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm Adam. I'm the writing
Sorry,
lead.
I should
Adam
have said
W.
that.
Yeah. Sorry. I lead the writing team, and I'm probably not very good at it, but that's me.
Hi, I'm Bodo, and I'm usually the PR lead, but right now I'm on limited capacity, so I just do PR for the time being.
I'm Horror. I'm one of the programmers.
I'm Lycos. I'm one of the art director for the team.
I'm Dread. I'm also one of the programmers and also do some of the editing.
I'm Wolf. I am the consultant and I do some of the editing as well.
Okay, well, so I have everyone gathered here today because we have a little bit of it's a little bit past our anniversary, but our first anniversary of releasing Missing Stars Act 1 was December 29th, 2019. It's 2021 we're recording this. But what we wanted to do is answer a couple of questions from our fans. We had a survey that we shared with social media and with our Discord. So we got a bunch of questions here that I think are really fun to answer. So I think we can get that started. So we've tried to separate them into a bunch of sections. So we're just going to go through them. So we have like a writing section, technical section, etc. So we'll be going through them and we'll just be kind of answering those questions as best we can. So we'll get started. So for Adam here, we had someone ask a question. Can I get an option to ask Katya about her wrist bandages in Act 1? Because as someone who had a girlfriend who cut herself pretty regularly, it's really easy to pick up on that. And Eric not being able to say that is a little bit infuriating.
It's this is a very specific question with a lot of complex things to talk about. Mainly, Katya's writer Essie had a quick look at this one and says that scene's gonna be rewritten. So what you see there now could change pretty significantly. There's also the fact that Eric himself as our main character isn't, he's not that up on how mental health problems affect people. It's not something that's had a major part in his life up until, a few months before the start of Missing Stars. So he may not be that observant or aware of that kind of thing. But that part is going to be rewritten. So possibly in the future, it will be a bit more what you're after. But as for adding a specific dialogue option for Eric to say that, I'm not so sure. We'll see. But honestly, probably not.
Okay, I think that's a good answer. We got another one here. How has the subject matter affected the writing process? What resources did you use to make sure characters' conditions are portrayed in an accurate and respectful manner? For us, we had a big variety of different ways to cover this. One, we do have a medical advisor on our team, one Fia. She's been absolutely fantastic at providing us with materials, a lot of research papers, a lot of treatment options for people with the conditions that we've specified, as well as our own anecdotal experience, which in a lot of cases really does help us make more nuanced characters as a result. We feel that combining both of those is really good. Obviously, with mental health, there are lots of questions. How do you portray them, in a non-stereotypical manner? How do you find a quote-unquote average depiction of a specific mental condition? I'll use my character, Jean, as an example. Obviously, with her specific condition, there are many ways that it can be interpreted. We decided to go with, a more average option, which is usually, in John's case, it's verbal tics or, physical tics like clicking, moving fingers, moving limbs, movements, etc. And a lot of people really did like that particular depiction because it described them as opposed to, something that was seen on TV. So I think we did a really good job at achieving that goal. Next question, and this is more for Wolf here, who's with us. As a person with mental health issues, I was quite surprised by how well and accurately you managed to portray mental health in Act 1. I'd like to know how you achieve this, as it's something I feel a lot of media in general struggles with. Did you do a lot of research? Do any of the writers have a professional or personal experience with the topic?
So this is an elaboration on the previous question. Generally speaking, yes, we do quite a lot of research. Not only do the writers do research into their individual characters, but the editors try to catch any mistakes that we may have made in the writing process. But in any scene that we have in the game, expect quite a lot of research would have gone into it. That combined with the fact that we have a person on our team that has qualifications in this, it means that we have a professional to make sure we get the right stuff out there. So short answer, yes. We do a lot of research.
Definitely really useful. Let's see, next question here. What advice do you have for us fans to make sure fan works and memes don't represent or disrespect the conditions portrayed in the game? Really, the big one for us is cross-referencing, using multiple resources, like I mentioned before, getting anecdotal stories, talking to people who actually have the conditions. The big one, too, is just being respectful. If someone provides us with their own personal experience that they think might be helpful, really respecting that they were able to talk to us about it and describe what they were doing is really good. Being respectful for actual experience is really, really valuable for writing. It allows us to actually have something to source a story off of, to source, a particular character quirk or something that happened in that character's past. Being able to have those little details make our characters so much more detailed. And when it comes to fan works, I would ask that people do the same. Do your research, really try to understand what are the implications of a character having a specific mental condition. What kind of things could they experience because of it, and basically go from there. Let's see, next question here. How has fan reaction and feedback affected development? I'm going to pass this off to Adam here.
A lot, basically. For those who've not been with us for so long, we released a demo of just a few scenes in, was it 2018 or the end of 2017? Around that time.
Around that time, yeah.
Yeah, about a year before we released Act 1. And if you've played that and Act 1, you'll already know that there are a ton of changes just in those few scenes that were in the demo based on what people told us they liked and disliked. A lot of there was a whole fairly long scene in the demo that featured Eric exploring parts of Vienna with his sisters, and that was found by players to be just too long, and it took too long to get for us to actually meet the characters that we're going to be spending the majority of our time with, which was very fair and reasonable feedback, and we took it on board and stripped it out. And now in the version of Act 1 you see released is, I think, a much better version of the game, all thanks to the feedback people gave us. And so we're going to keep drawing on that. Now, we don't have much of an iterative release process. We've released Act 1, and the next release is going to be the full version of the game. But Act 1 is massive, and so we've gotten a lot of feedback from Act 1 alone that we will be able to apply to the rest of the game. So a lot, pretty much. It's also nice to know which characters are fan favorites. And in the survey, right? I just want to get this out there. We asked which was your favorite character, and Anna won, and I'm really happy about that.
Oh my god!
Because I'm writing her. But
even
ignoring that,
been overwhelming. Like I think almost a third of server responses answered that Annalise was their favorite. I'm like, dang!
I
Annalise
swear I didn't
awesome.
make a bunch of fake accounts. That wasn't on me.
We'll believe you for now.
But yeah, loads, and you can see it in the two versions of Missing Stars we've released. It's the feedback is so important to us.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
want to elaborate real quick, specifically on the bug reports that people have made. Wonderful. We just didn't have enough time to catch everything, and having a much larger player base than just people in house, the bug reports and all the documentation people have made have helped us out a lot on fixing it back to one, and for making things better moving forward.
massively. And that's not even, oh, this is something I prefer. It was just straight up, you're doing QA work for us without being part of the team. So useful. And, we've had upwards of 300 bugs reported by members of the community that we've fixed in updates that we didn't spot ourselves. Or in some cases, kind of knew were there, but we just didn't have time to do it before release. Such is life.
Right.
But
Yeah,
the bug reports are incredibly useful, and no doubt, even after releasing the full game, whenever that happens, we will rely on you for those bug reports and fix them in updates. So please keep them coming.
Keep
We
them
love
coming.
them.
Yeah.
There's only so much we're going to catch. So, yeah,
Mhm.
keep them coming.
Break our game in half.
basically, yes. Okay, next question here. To all the writers, with Missing Stars as cast, bringing together characters of different nationalities and linguistic backgrounds, how do you think writing the characters' dialogue in their second or third languages affects the way you write them? And have you been considering translating the game to German at some point in the future? It would be really interesting to see how the German, Austrian, Swiss characters' patterns of speech differed and or were similar. I can answer this one. So English and German are the two main languages of the school. Classes are either taught in English or German. Usually pupils get a choice. They're usually divided between the two. For us, it's just easier to write them in standard English. It's just easier to do so. Most of the cast are fluent speakers in English already, just by nature of them being all European. The twins are an exception. It's not their first language, but they know enough of it. So that you'll see that they speak some things a little bit differently. That is by design. That's what Kuro, Katja's writer, not Katja, whoops, twins writer, Natalia and Sophia. He wanted to write them that specific way. It does add a little bit of interesting things. We've written too, like Eric struggles a little bit in French. He's a little bit unfamiliar with it. In general, though, for translations, to answer that last question, we do want to look at having official translations for our game once everything is complete. The game is projected to be pretty big. So what we would like to do is eventually have working with a translation team, or like if someone wants to do a fan-made translation, we probably would want to work with them in a official capacity. But we want to do that once the full game is released. So we probably won't have any foreign language translations for a while.
Obviously, with that, we're looking at doing that because it's much easier to translate everything once the whole game's ready, rather than translating part of a script, then something changing, having to come back to it and retranslate it again.
Yeah, we want
Absolutely.
everything to be locked in first.
And
That's-
there's this quality
that's
assurance that goes with it too. So when we get translations, we would need to double check to make sure, it's up to snuff. We're not releasing a poor translation, so it's a process.
Basically, yeah. Going in here, is the lore that Saint Dimphnus is technically property of the Jesuits going to be expanded upon in the full release? That's a question for Adam here.
Interesting one. It's something that I'm, a bit ashamedly kind of ignorant of. I honestly don't know very much about this. From my perspective, it's probably not going to come into it very much at all, at least not in Anna's route, because it's something that's kind of a background detail, and we're really writing a character-driven drama. Certainly there are mentions of it in Act 1 already, and I can see some writers really grasping that, and when scenes get written for Act 2 and beyond, you may find a few little details leak in there. I'm not aware that it's going to be, a focus of any of our routes going forward, because that's just not the genre we're writing. So you might find a few tidbits of information, but I'll be honest, it's not going to be like a major thing. It's just part of our background. The characters are what really matter, I think, in our game.
Exactly. If we had a character that was actually devoutly religious, for example, I'm sure we would have gone into more detail with their character and in their route. But as it stands right now, we really are. This is more of a very character-driven story. We're not trying to write the entire Silmarillion and Missing Stars. We're just writing Missing Stars.
You won't find a Missing Stars deep lore encyclopedia released anytime soon.
Yeah,
So there's a
pretty
chance.
much.
Like,
Someone
say
will
soon,
probably write something.
yeah.
We'll find out.
You said soon, so there's a chance.
Oh fuck!
Damn it! Now we got to do it. Okay, next one here. I've been following the project since 2012, shortly after featuring Karawa Shoujo for the first time. After the closure of Love Despite, I was worried for Missing Stars, and I continued to be overjoyed that you all decided that the setting deadline was rash and decided to keep going. Heart emoji. Moving on to the actual question. I'm sure you've all got your hands full with just the base game, but have you considered DLC routes post-released? I think, that's for Adam here.
Yeah. You know what? It's not on the cards at the moment. We just haven't thought about it. After release, maybe we will. Who knows? It sort of depends how long things take and how much we've got left in us after releasing this bloody thing. But you know, we're not baking plans for DLC into the current plans. We want to tell a full and complete story without leaving anything deliberately for DLC or anything like that. I mean, it's not, it's not a AAA game release where they might plan content and then cut it out for DLC. It's just the story we want to tell.
Cyberpunk 2077.
I can't say hold your breath or anything like that. I wouldn't personally be opposed to it, but we don't have any plans.
Buy the Sophia route now for $4.99.
There you go.
Bet. Let's fucking go.
Since we were talking about twins, who is the genius that is writing all of Natalia's puns? Is it a team effort, or is one of you rascals spitting out these gems completely on your own?
Me.
Sadly, that's we have only one genius, and that's Kuro. He does so much effort in making Natalia and Sophia absolutely fantastic characters, and that also includes all of Natalia's puns. It's great. There are
I
some
wish I
puns
could
that,
claim some sort of collaborative credit for that
Yeah.
because they're such a great part of the game. But
They're
no, it's
fun.
all Kuro.
It's deeply
Yeah.
upsetting whenever I
think-
come across a pun, let me tell you.
I think one of us have occasionally, provided a pun in our dev chats. Whether or not you'll see them in the full game, that's up to Kuro. But we do have some good ones. We've got some zingers. We've got some dad joke level puns, which I'm sure Natalia would appreciate.
And I'd just like to remind everyone that you'll never be able to date Sophia. She's not
Sorry. It's just a
Don't make our listeners depressed, Bodo, please.
It's true, we make him be depressed.
We're already crushing their souls by not having what is it?
Ella having
Ella,
a route.
Yeah.
Ella not having a route, Fran not having a route.
I mean,
So
if we're
We need
upsetting.
to stop writing such good characters, which is
I mean, we've already
destroying.
We need to be stop being so talented. I know.
Yeah, stop.
We've
Please.
already committed sins, so we might as well go out with a bang
There you go.
and
This
just crush
does not
everyone's
represent the
dreams.
opinion of Somnova.
God.
Take me back to the Kato Shoujo read through.
Oh no.
Good times.
Oh man.
Okay. Next question here. Are there plans to change any parts of Act 1 routes, whether to maintain continuity with Act 2 and beyond, or to change the pace of a route? Ooh, I can answer this one. So I can officially announce that Jean and Isolde will be getting a couple of extra scenes in Act 1 in a later release. We wanted to initially balance the amount of screen time each girl got, and we noticed that Jean and Isolde just kind of didn't get as much. So we do want to balance that a little bit. So they will be receiving some additional scenes. It's not a major rewrite of their character. It's just additional content with them that we found that when we looked at our timelines, we have an official timeline / flow chart of Act 1 that we use to determine when and where scenes occur in over the space of a day or a week, and we use that to determine, okay, where roughly could we potentially put in more content? And we found that there's plenty of space for some additional Jean and Isolde content. So look forward to that. We'll be updating you guys as we include this content, and we will make announcements on our blog and on social media as time permits.
Defense rejoice.
This next section here is for Adam. How do you strike the balance between each route having its own tone/conflict and the game being an overall cohesive whole?
With a lot of work and a lot of planning. It's not something that's
Yes.
easy to do when there's like 25 hours of reading, depending on your speed, in Act 1 alone. Imagine how many more words there are going to be in the future acts. It just takes a lot of work. There's no like silver bullet for solving this. We plan really hard. We've got full route outlines for every character now, so we can at least assess what sort of themes and conflicts they're going to address and make sure we aren't overdoing some specific themes or not representing some things at all that ought to be represented. And we've been planning that sort of thing for, the whole of 2020 pretty much has been dedicated to planning the future acts of the game. So at this point, we've got a pretty good idea of what each route is going to cover. But the fact is that was a shitload of work and a lot of back and forth between each writer, and there's no simple answer. It's basically just work and planning for a long time and a lot of iteration until you get it right. And we still have problems. I don't think any game where you've got a team of like 7 writers, right, or 6, 7, a big number anyway for a independent volunteer project. It's going to be almost impossible to make it perfectly cohesive. Like I don't think you're ever going to be able to read Missing Stars and think this could have been written by one person. Frankly, you're probably going to notice when the writer changes, but in some cases. But for the common scenes, especially, we try to keep cases like that down, and it just takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to. We do have a dedicated editor, Downex, who is fantastic at catching those little details, especially really just in terms of continuity. Really just making sure that, our events, follow the flow of time correctly. We don't have any causality breaking scenes, which is good, because I'm sure we don't want to give people any more headaches that they need to. We're all good.
Yeah. Having several editors read through independently always helps as well.
Yeah, I think
Because
editing is just the biggest
the more
thing.
separate
You really,
sets files you've got, the better.
yeah, you really can't submit like a first draft and say it's done. There are no flaws. It's perfect. It's always good to give it to someone who could be like, all right, hey, I noticed that you completely left out this one thing, or this plot point you mentioned doesn't come up ever again. Can we incorporate that? And having that continual feedback usually helps. Okay, next one here. Will we see more male side characters in the final game? Yes. That's it. But we do have, to elaborate more, we do have some more side characters planned that may or may not show up in Act 1. As we see more of the school, we'll have more characters show up. Some of these will be male characters. Mostly it's gonna extend to students and family members. Typically the girls will have family members that you will interact with over the course of Missing Stars. By and large too, we do intend to include the fact that Eric does interact with other people. We don't want to make the scenes purely just him talking to the specific route girl of choice. We do intend to include some nuance. Some mentioned that, hey, Eric has friends, which is kind of important. So yeah, we will have male side characters that will come up. They might have minor roles, they might have major roles. You guys will see it in the full release.
Expect some male students in the backgrounds of some pictures, because I'm trying to make the school more lively at least.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, adding some life to all of our CG's backgrounds is really important. And yeah, Lucas has done a fantastic job with his progress.
I'm not the only one, so.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there are plenty of people who are doing it. For Adam, how long do you expect all of the routes to take to read on average?
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to do a lot of maths to figure this out. It's going to be a 4-act game, but the first act is the common route, right? So it's going to be longer than the subsequent acts. Mostly looking at our route outlines, acts 2 through 4 tend to be between 10 and 15 scenes long. That's not really a great metric because the length of a scene can vary pretty significantly. But depending on your reading speed, it'll probably be, if you've read Act 1, 2 to 3 times longer than that, maybe a little bit longer. Depends on the route you're reading. But at the moment, we don't have a set number because, one, we haven't written it. Like, the game's not finished. We haven't written it yet, so we don't know how long it is.
Wait, you mean this podcast is not just a marketing stunt to announce the full release?
Oh no!
Sorry. Unfortunately not. I wish
Surprise,
that was.
Adam.
I didn't hear
We've
about
been
this.
found out. We've been found out. Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, surprisingly, we haven't written the game yet, so we don't know how long it is. But it'll probably be about 2 to 3 times as long as Act 1 for each route. But it depends how fast you read, man.
That's pretty much it. We do have we have a general update section here. I'm going to pass this off to Bodo to answer some of those questions. So Bodo, take it away.
Thank you very much. So the first question on the update section is, when is Act 2 coming out? So the next planned Act release, it's going to be the full game rather than episodically released. So we're not going to be releasing Act 1 and then Act 2 when it's finished, then Act 3, etc. The next release that we're going to have for Missing Stars is going to be the full game. So you're going to have Acts 1 through 4. It's going to be the full version of the game, fully complete. That's going to be when Act 2 comes out. When the game
We are not Telltale's games, pretty much.
Ooh.
Ouch.
True.
No, it's not, to be honest.
And I'm actually going to skip to the last question because it ties into that one. When is the full game coming out? We don't know. It's really going to depend how well things go development-wise. COVID's actually interrupted our workflow significantly. More on that later. But short answer is we don't know. We're hoping sooner rather than later. Estimated time on the next public update. Keep watching. There might be one coming in the next few weeks. How's the CG update coming along? I'm going to hand that over to our art director, Likos. So, Likos, how's the
Thank
CG
you.
update coming along?
Well, it's going pretty well, to be honest. Well, it kind of ground to a halt a bit because COVID, but we all had it. We have some CGs ready, at least, so, well, we kind of expect to see more later. I kind of want to show off more eventually, so, you'll see more eventually.
You were in the dev channels on Discord because seeing the new CGs roll in as Likos makes them and the other artists too is a magical experience.
So good.
I like
Yes.
updates.
It is quite fun to see more stuff. I enjoy it a lot.
I don't think I've been disappointed by anything that Likos or the rest of the art team has produced thus far.
It's so fun. Plus, we get to put them in builds to test them out as they get made, so we can see them in situ.
Oh, seeing some of my stuff being made into the engine is pretty magical.
It's a lot of fun.
I hope it's the same for my colleagues. So,
yeah,
I like to think that I motivate the team by posting art as I.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
If you drew a graph of my output on Missing Stars related work, you would see massive spikes anytime you post a CG or a new sprite or something. I'm like, oh shit, I better do some work now because this has really got me into it.
Every time I post, it's like, wake up, you pussies, work. It's my whip.
Yeah, his whip,
It
and his
works.
whip is
Keep it
art. A very artistic looking whip. Okay, and we'll move into, we got some technical questions here. I'm going to pass it off to Steve, one of our programmers here.
Yep. So the first question is, will there be any sharing of save data between the different acts, and if so, how will that work? Well, because we're looking at releasing everything together, as a full game release, there won't be a need to transfer the data between the various acts. However, any saves from the current version of Act 1 are unlikely to be compatible with the full game because there's going to be a lot we're going to be adding to make Acts 2 through 4 work that aren't in the game at the moment. So obviously, you'll just have to play through the glorious Act 1 again and enjoy all of that again.
Considering we're going to be adding like a ton of content, both written and art assets, are going to be all new.
That won't be too painful.
You'll have a pretty good reason to want to replay it, so hopefully that won't be too painful.
The next one from there, have you guys considered adding a gallery and/or a place to jump straight to scenes you've already read? The gallery's certainly on the list of things we want to add. Ideally, that will be coming in the next update that we do, where you may even see some of the new CG art. Just saying. Jumping to scenes, though, isn't something we're going to plan because so much of it is designed so that it reads smoothly and consistently. And jumping to individual scenes would probably break that flow.
We've got a lot of dialogue that sort of depends on choices you've made previously. So if we had a sort of jump to a scene thing, we'd have to decide how, what the canon choice is, I think, for that option, that conditional dialogue, and we don't really want to do that. That's a big factor.
Because a lot of the choices are player driven as opposed to being, they could be like ambiguous answers. It'd be really tricky to do that. There's a lot of variables involved. And essentially, we don't want to make a quote unquote canon choice that could affect people's perception of the game. Because the canon choice is always this one anyway, so why bother selecting the other choices? They're not canon. We definitely don't want to make that a thing. Whatever canon fans want is the one that they want, is the one that they choose, as opposed to the one that we tell them to choose.
Be careful with that statement.
Basically, I don't think we're writing in like obvious bad choices or game overs. We're not doing that. The sort of the endings that you might call the bad endings have just as much effort and time and detail put into them as the good endings. They are still endings of the story that are dependent on your choices. So we don't have canonical routes. It all depends on what choices you've made, and so jumping to a scene would kind of make that impossible.
Yeah, and of course, sometimes things just don't work out.
Yeah,
sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, depending on what choices you made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those kinds of choices will pop up in future acts, so you gotta look forward to those. They might be a little soul crushing. They might make you happy. It's ultimately how that
Personally,
works.
I love making people cry. So
yes, we're here to make you cry.
Adam, spoilers. Make people cry. We don't. We're not gonna.
Anytime someone on Discord has been like, "Oh, this one scene in Anna's Route really made me cry," I'm like, "Oh, I might as well die now. My life is complete. I don't need to achieve anything more."
The views expressed by do not necessarily represent the as a whole.
We sustain ourselves off of your tears. It's true.
You just plaster that statement everywhere. Okay. With our next section here, this is more related to just kind of the team as a whole. So I think I'll take care of pretty much all of these, actually. How does the team continue to work if the person responsible leaves, considering they have a unique style in their work? So that's involving an artist or a writer, etc. Well, we do have a lot of documentation. That's kind of the big thing. We do have our plans, we have notes, rough styles, etc. Those are passed around to the rest of our team, and that work can be then picked up by the rest of the team and the replacement. In the case of art, we do have a specific art style document that we have all of our artists follow. When we're looking at prospective artists to join our team that are interested or those that applied, we would usually give them an art assignment followed with our particular art style document. Usually the people who apply, if they're able to replicate that very well, then we bring them onto the team. That's usually the case. With writing, it's a little bit different. Typically, we're looking at, in the past when we've looked at writer applications, we typically have them look at, we give them a rough rundown of what we intend to have for our character, usually because we have a character sheet for, say Katya or Jean, and we show them, here's kind of our character sheet that we have for them. Based on this, we'd like for you to write an interaction of your choice between, this character and, say, the protagonist, and, go from there. And that's usually done very well. Typically when in the past, we had people completely just write their own outline for a character. That would cause a long time for us to readjust what we want for our characters, making sure that they fit the themes that we wanted for Missing Stars, etc. And it was very time consuming. More recently, we've kind of decided here's an outline, here's a character sheet. We would prefer if our future writers would follow through with what we have written already, and of course they can make changes as needed. But by and large, we'd like for them to follow like this character sheet that we have, the pre-existing scenes that we have. Here's examples of how they talk, how they act, things that they would do, and go from there. So a lot of it is just having documentation and having new people follow through on that documentation. That's really the big thing.
Turnover rate is definitely a thing that can be discussed, especially for like studios who are like, just getting their feet wet. Like turnover rate's pretty high, but now that we've been here so long, we are pretty damn solidified in who we have. So don't expect anything to change anytime soon for that.
Yeah, I think we've gotten I think we got a pretty solid staff right now. I think any major changes would be, like a sudden illness, a sudden lifestyle change. If people got a new job and they can't dedicate as much time, or any big life-changing events obviously could affect that. But I think for the team that we have right now, I think we're pretty rock solid. So I'm pretty happy about that.
As far as the art team is concerned, I'm pretty much the one to help the new ones. Funny because I was a new one for a while. And yeah, I can pretty much be the one to help the new guys to fit on this.
That's really cool to see, though. Like people that the way that people's abilities develop because while they're working on Missing Stars.
Oh god!
And that's kind of happened with you, like us.
Yeah,
so it's actually really cool.
Because our styles evolved significantly, which is awesome. I think a lot of our writing styles have developed significantly. We're seeing other people's feedback, we're seeing other people's examples of writing, and we're learning from each other, which is really cool.
What fuck?
At the moment, we're going all over a lot of Act 1 scenes, and I keep looking at my old scenes that I wrote in 2016, and I feel like they're really bad, and I need to change them. So we've all changed a lot.
Oh, I'm sure we have, yeah. These next three are kind of pretty similar. How do you make the team commit to work until the end of their part? What would you say the bottleneck for visual novel development is? And in what ways has COVID affected development? So I'll try and answer these as quickly as I can because they're pretty similar. Making them commit to work, the big thing is just, what we do regularly is we have bi-monthly, sorry, mix those two up, silly me. Bi-monthly meetings, really just general progress updates. It's just me and a couple members checking in. It's like, hey, what have we managed to get done over these past weeks? Are you struggling? Are you having difficulty in certain places? Do you need help? It's just a way to get everyone to kind of talk and let them know, like, hey, I'm going to be busy, or hey, I haven't made enough progress, I need help on something. It's just a really good way to make sure that we're continually talking to one another, as opposed to being like, you've got your assignment, get it done, and then just let them do it. And then in terms of bottlenecks, probably the two biggest ones would be writing and art. Writing because it's pretty time consuming to sit down, do a bunch of writing, and then there's also, you know, submitting it to editing, getting it edited, making sure that it fits our script format that we have for RenPy, and then also testing it in RenPy to make sure that it doesn't break our game entirely. Art is pretty similar, minus the whole programming bits. Art is a process, as I'm sure most artists would agree with. It's a lot of polish. It's a lot of making sure that, you know, the colors are right, making sure that you know, when compressed, the art assets don't look terrible. A bunch of stuff like that. And in terms of external factors, obviously COVID has probably been the biggest bottleneck for our development over the past year here. I think pretty much all of us have been affected by it in some way. For me, for example, you know, I had lost my job due to COVID. I got laid off because the areas that we were going to service, I had a couple of future on-site projects I was hired to go to in California. And that's when COVID was starting to really spike in the country, and California was a big hotspot. But when those were canceled, it's like, oh, we don't have anything for you. Bye. That kind of sucked. But I think for a lot of people, just the general lack of energy because we're at home, we're isolated from friends, from typical things that we do. I think that's affected pretty much everyone here. It's caused a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty.
I ended up actually burning out.
It's a lot.
That's actually why I'm still on limited capacity, because I was burnt out from just 2020 in general. So
even though we don't have to go into like a Somnova office, there's no such thing. We were all remote. But God, the year 2020 has been so much less productive than I thought it would be for me. Like I've probably gotten about half the work done that I planned to, just because it's been so fucking horrible.
Here.
We all have full-time jobs, or I think most of us do, and if not full-time jobs, then other full-time commitments outside of the project. Like, it's a hobby. This isn't what we do full-time. So, and full-time work has been so draining that, it's been tricky.
I have to say that just getting half of your work done in 2020 is an achievement. It's been a fucking year.
that's very true. Just surviving, honestly, I think is an achievement for all of us.
On the plus side, though, because we're well separated, being spread over several countries, we've not been at any risk of making each other ill.
Yeah,
this is also nice.
Face to face.
You have to wear
Which is actually
masks
quite
while we're
nice.
working on Missing Stars or anything like that. So
It's a minor bonus, but a bonus nonetheless.
I'll hold
There
on
you
to
go.
that.
Hey, you know what? It's 2020. We need all the help we can get.
Oh yeah, for real.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay, and last question here in this particular section: are you guys going to set up a Kickstarter or some kind in the future? I still can't believe this is entirely free because the quality is just stellar. Well, first of all, thank you. You're great. Second, we don't really have any plans for Kickstarters.
Is on the way. Your PayPal payment is on the way for that.
Yeah,
Very much agent.
Yes.
Thank you, unnamed fan.
But to answer the question, right now we don't have any plans for Kickstarters or asking for any funding for Missing Stars. We've always intended the game to be free for people who are just fans of the game. We would really like it to spread as much as possible. We would like it to be free for that reason. We also feel it would be very complicated to try and split all of those fundings evenly, since we're spread over several countries. I think we have pretty much all major continents, I think, except for Africa, I think we've covered, Africa and Antarctica. We have devs in pretty much every continent, which is kind of fun. But we do ask if you guys would like to support the game somehow. Spread the word to your friends and contacts to, and have them enjoy the game. We would love it if we were able to spread the word about how important mental health is, not only in terms of getting treatment, but showing that it's okay to have a mental health issue. We feel it's much more important than having money to run a studio with. If you do feel like you have the money or the time available, we do ask that you donate to a good mental health charity, volunteer your time somewhere at a center. Those are incredibly valuable. And charities, specialty centers, those are in super need of just people who want to help, people who want to donate money. So that is so much more useful than trying to give money to a dev studio. Again, we're all volunteers. We're doing this because we love this idea, because we love this concept, and because we have a lot of fun making it. We feel that we don't really need to be paid for having fun like this. We feel that again, donating your time and money for charity is a much more worthwhile endeavor. We have just this kind of a tiny little other section, and we'll give this to Horror, because you wanted to answer this one. Will Circia receive a remaster like Arcadia did? For those of you who might not know, Circia was a small project that we had, but Horror, you can go into that a little more detail here.
Yeah, so for those not in the know, Circia was one of our smaller game jam projects. I did music on that one. A remaster is currently not planned. If it changes, if we plan on a remaster or do any updates on it, we will announce it. What I also do want to iterate that what we have right now is just something that was made in 2 weeks. This was not like a month game jam, this was a 2-week project. So, considering that, it's really not that bad. But
it actually is quite nice. Yeah, we like it quite a bit.
I personally would love if it gets a remaster, but it's currently not in the works yet.
At some point, we probably would like to explore it again. I think the concepts that we did, some of the art that we did was really cool. But yeah,
part of a
once we have
concept
time, yeah.
created by Aora, one of our artists. So it kind of depends on them and their willingness to work on that.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it's ultimately up to Aora at this point. Yeah, if she authorizes, like, hey, let's get it done, let's get it remastered, then we'll follow through. And of course, we'll keep people updated. I've got a bunch of open questions here at this part of the podcast, so I think I'll just kind of open up to anyone who wants to answer them. So we'll start with our open floor here. What's the most surprising or unexpected aspect of being a development team that you guys have experienced?
How much you learn?
Yeah. I'd say that despite the stress we've had, it's been a lot of fun, and we've grown an awful lot as we've been learning more about the process. Both working with other people, working with strangers that we've not got face-to-face interactions with. That's all been good, and certainly some of us have picked up a lot of skills.
For me, it's become my main hobby. Like, this isn't much of it. It's not really a side thing anymore. 90% of the time, if I have free time that I would dedicate to a hobby, it's going to be dedicated to Missing Stars and whatever else Somnova is working on. So it's like, it's part of my identity now. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but it's a fact. And yeah, I kind of didn't plan for that when I first joined. I thought it would just be a sort of side thing. But it's aside from my full-time job, it's my main thing.
Yeah, I feel you. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club.
Nova assimilates all.
Adam, are you finished your answer?
What was that?
Are you finished your answer?
Oh, yeah, I'm all done.
Okay, good. Just didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the most surprising aspect for me, how dedicated I am to this project. When I first joined, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be dedicated or just quit after a year and a half. And after going on hiatus for 3 months, I couldn't wait to get back on. So I'm really happy about that. I tend to jump from thing to thing, and I'm really happy I'm sticking with this. Just because I believe in the message of Missing Stars, and I want to see this thing done. That's been my biggest surprise.
I would say for me, there are a couple things. For one, like I was really surprised at Somnova's ability to turn like raw, unadulterated like talent into release. Not many studios can boast that they've, for free made several 100,000-word releases, and they've made them well, and they're really polished and they're really well written. They have really good art, music. Their programming is really good. Like Somnova is really unique in what it's accomplished. And my other thing was being here for a few years, getting to see the studio grow, is really impressive. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't know how to execute it, your projects won't be, they won't be good. And Somnova's projects are definitely good. They've gotten the execution down pat.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really proud of us for, we've really come a long way since, we started this project in the Katawa Shoujo forums because someone proposed the idea, like, what would we do if it was mental health disorders instead of physical disorders? The discussion built from there. We got our own forums. We got our own IRC channel. Remember when IRC was a thing? Wow, what a time. And then seeing it slowly get to the point where it's like, oh, like this is a real thing, not just like a theoretical, like what if? But it's really impressive that we've come this far. It's been, we're coming up on, pretty major anniversary. It'll been, oh God, what's it, 8-9 years now? 2021 will be 9 years. Jesus. But seeing all of that is really something else. It's very surprising that we've come this far and we've actually become like a cohesive like studio that actually does shit. It's kind of fun.
We've got like 4 releases under our belt now. It's not like we're just fucking around making nothing. We've released 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
we made our Arcadia, which a lot of people have really loved. We've gotten a lot of responses for Arcadia, which we're actually really happy about. We've got our Sarkia project, which it was small, but there are people who liked it, which is kind of cool. Of course, Missing Stars, both our demo and our Act 1 release is very exciting. And that's not even to mention our collaborative works with Watercress, with Wolf. I
totally forgot that.
I
played
did some
a
work.
Field of Flower and Stars recently, sorry, but
Yeah,
I fucking loved that so much. It was
I had a blast doing the writing for that. It's fun doing those collaborative projects. I would love to do more of them with Watercress in the future, obviously. I had fun writing that goofy alien language that tripped up our voice actress.
Our poor voice actress. Oh my god.
I didn't realize it would be voice acted because we didn't talk about it. So I was like, I'll just write this goofy alien language. It's fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, oops.
There's definitely a conversation to be had about inter-studio like collaboration. Because like for Watercress, all of our things are voice acted. It's normal, but like each studios have different expectations, so it's definitely something to look into later.
That's a lesson for the future.
Yeah,
that isn't any kind of promise that Missing Stars is going to be voice acted. By the way, like not a fucking
no, too big.
It's so big. We really wish we could dedicate the time and effort that it would take, but it's so big of a project that'd be very difficult. I think we would actually need to get funding for that.
Right. I'd feel like if I got a voice actor or many voice actors to do all that for free, I'd feel like I was really exploiting them in a bad way.
God.
So,
just get the Google Translate voice and record everything like that.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Everything is just Microsoft SAM synthesized voices.
Hell yeah.
Vocaloid, easy game.
Play a Field of Flowers and Stars though, it's really good.
True.
I wasn't involved in it at all. I just love it.
It's
I had a blast writing some of the scenes. I had so much fun doing that.
To chill a little bit, it will be coming to Steam this year.
Hey, that's awesome.
Boy.
That's sexy.
Good game.
We kind of I guess we kind of inadvertently answered the second question here. What keeps you all motivated to continue working on this game? and makes dedicating your time to make it feel worthwhile for you. I think really just seeing that people really enjoy their game, that a lot of people have seen our project develop into something mature and like actual really cool looking is kind of fun. We just kind of inadvertently answered that second question. So I'll lead into the next question here. What aspect of Missing Stars are you guys most proud of?
For me, it's that we've been working so hard to basically represent all the conditions that we're looking at properly and respectfully.
Yeah, I like that as
you know,
well.
It would have been so easy to just take the straightforward pop culture approach to some of them and write them really, really badly.
And given some of the... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, but sitting, going through it, working on the conditions properly has made it so much better than it would have been otherwise.
And
Yeah, I
based on
totally
the
agree.
feedback we've gotten, a lot of people agree.
I think a lot of people like our very respectful representation of Jean, who has Tourette's syndrome. I think a lot of people were very appreciative of the fact that we didn't make her oh, I randomly swear every once in a while. I just do that. It's just me. That's my character.
Yeah, it wasn't the funny Tourette's meme. It was
Yeah.
a real thing.
I very early on, when I got John's assignment, I was like, okay, I really want to make this a correct version of Tourette's. It had just so happened that I had a classmate who had Tourette's, and it was not the sweary kind. It was he had like muscle spasms and twitches as part of his tic. So I based a lot of what we see with John's behavior off of like actually observing him. I remember asking him, I think I may have asked him like a specific question at one point, but by and large, like I knew he had Tourette's. He was very open about it. He didn't try to hide it or was ashamed of it. It's like, it's just a thing that I have. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm fine. I'm not sick. I'm okay. Don't worry about it. So I took a lot of that and really mapped that towards what I did with John, who I think one is someone who's very comfortable with her condition, who does her best to really make sure that it doesn't affect her. It doesn't make her any different or like a weird character. It just makes her just another character who just happens to have Tourette's syndrome. But it doesn't encompass her entire being, I guess.
That's actually a good point. We're writing characters who have conditions, not conditions that are then attached to people.
Can I give two answers?
Yeah, go for it.
So my first answer for what I'm most proud of is first I would have to say the fan base. Okay, every fan base, they're gonna get the occasional rotten egg, and we've had to deal with a couple of those. But by and large, the fan base, especially on our Discord server, fantastic, very open-minded, very understanding. They really take to the message that the project aims to broadcast, and I think that's really great. I think overall we've got a fantastic fan base right now.
It's super chill place to hang out now. The Discord server, isn't it?
It really is. It's one of my favorite places to go, actually. When I'm not working on Missing Stars, I like to hang out in the Discord server, just in general chat, and interact with people, because a little biased saying this, but I think we've got one of the better fan bases.
It's true, though.
Probably
Yeah.
one of the less toxic servers, I mean. So
Yeah, like, true. Yep.
We've certainly worked on maintaining that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. My second answer would be, I would say, like, just our standard of quality. When we're actually working on the game, a lot of times if let's say Adam's writing a scene for Annalise and he'll share it, he may go, "Oh, I don't know if I like this," but the rest of us will read it and go, "Adam, what are you talking about? This is amazing." So we all are just motivated to produce the best game that we can, and I think that's something I'm really proud of in terms of Missing Stars, just that we won't accept anything less than stellar.
And we support each other too, like all the way through. Instead of just shooting things down, we're like, hey, we have a studio full of people who are pretty damn professional. Here are the things that I recommend for this scene or this piece of art or this music. You know, we give feedback and talk to each other, and like Somnova is a wholly collaborative experience.
Nobody's out for themselves. It's really like we work together.
I'm quite proud of the art in general. I'm quite proud to at least be able to, now that I've progressed enough, help the team much more than just coloring some sprites. Because that's what I did at the start of the team, so...
But you are
Now
now
it's
carrying
amazing.
it, and you're doing it fucking magnificently.
I
And
agree.
it all looks so good. Oh,
Well, it's not perfect yet, but you know,
Oh, that's
I'm
another
doing
thing.
my best.
Another thing. We're very uplifting of each other. Like it's a very
Yeah.
positive atmosphere.
Yeah, I do like
We'll
that.
make up
You know,
Act 1 a real gem for you guys.
Yeah.
Just wait.
lots of polish. It'll be awesome.
Yes.
I think I had a laundry list, but I'm not gonna read that aloud. I
There
think
you go.
all the stuff we said previously, 100%. But I also want to add, I think we're very determined to continue this project. Very few groups like ours can boast being around since 2012 and being free the entire way through and releasing what we've done. I think the you know, never say die, like never quit attitude we have.
I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we won't stop. Like we promise the full game will come out. Like there is no question in any of our minds that we will finish this game, and I'm very proud of that.
It's a matter of
Yeah,
time.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not if but when.
Basically.
I
If you
still
want some
occasionally
shame,
think back
I
to
have
that
some.
one blog post from like before I joined that was like, if we don't release Missing Stars by the end of the year, we're gonna cancel it. And that was in
Yeah,
like
that was-
2015, I think. It's
God,
like,
that was
that was
honestly
naive, wasn't it?
that was really dumb. It's like, yeah, I think
Oh,
the
I
group
was
was all
scared.
like, yeah, no, we got this. We're gonna get it done. And I think internally we were like, once we got to that point, that deadline, we're like, you know, we've made enough progress. Like, sure, we didn't get it done, but we feel like we've made a lot of progress now. Where like we don't feel the need to cancel. But yeah, looking back, like that was really dumb.
And then it still took us 2 years to actually release the game, but that's another
Yeah.
matter.
Don't worry about it.
At least we got it
It's
done.
okay.
A
But
a
if you
bad
want
game
some
released
shame-
is bad forever.
Exactly.
If you want some
Very
shame,
that.
we have been on development hell for longer than Yonder Dev.
God, that's another podcast episode in its entirety, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not talking about that game.
That's one I'm not touching with
No.
your barge
That's
pole.
launching into the drama.
There you go. And well, I think we can wrap up this wonderful, wonderful podcast we've had today with: would you rather fight one Natalia-sized duck or 15 duck-sized Natalias?
One
Yeah.
Natalia-sized duck. Because
Yeah.
then I can
Well,
bribe it with food.
Who could ever want to fight Natalia?
I would, but I'm
Yeah,
French.
Just 15 Natalias would overwhelm me with their energy. It's too much.
And
Like
besides,
I can barely keep up with one Natalia.
yeah, and besides, there's always Uncle Dasher to worry about.
Hearing 15 tiny Natalias speak puns into my ear would make me want to die anyways. I don't think I could survive that.
Yeah, I think I would agree that I would take the Natalia-sized duck. Very easy to bribe with like grapes and stuff. Grapes, lettuce, whatever.
Plus,
Do you
they're
have any
skittish.
grapes?
Ducks. Have you seen farm ducks? Like they're not mean. They're skittish.
I think I'm going to
Yeah,
break
if
the
If it
mold
were a
and
goose,
say,
however,
if
Oh,
if
if it's a
15
goose.
duck-sized Natalias for me, I want 15 times the average output of pumpkin.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Say
that's
that
the thing.
now.
You cannot
It would-
you
it
cannot
would
survive
life
that
okay
power.
for me.
No, but just imagine the size of the pancakes you could have if you beat up the duck.
Oh, what the
Ooh. Mm.
Ooh.
But then hold on, would the volume of duck meat you get from a Natalia-sized duck be greater or lesser than 15 like ordinary Natalias? Assuming that in this universe where a duck-sized Natalia exists, cannibalism is okay. Also, Are we allowed to take it there in this podcast?
As PR, I'm gonna say no.
Let's leave that one.
Join us for Somnova After Dark, where we discuss Natalia cannibalism.
Oh god.
Sure. I'm getting this letter here. Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm really gonna eat that one up.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Thank God we don't have a legal team, otherwise I would have got in trouble.
Yes, you probably would have.
I'd have been kicked off the studio long ago.
I think a lot of us might have. Yeah.
This is why I'm not the
Okay.
spokesperson.
That just thrown me.
Who put me as the spokesperson? I'm the worst person. Anyway, edit that out. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe you.
The
All
views
right.
expressed by certain individuals.
Expressed by certain individuals are reflective of the studio in general.
Pretty much.
Say that 3 times fast.
No.
Okay. Well, we've had a fantastic discussion this afternoon, and I hope to have more of these in the future. I know we've kind of been slacking off of making podcast episodes. This is only our 3rd one, I think.
Yep.
At some point we would like to make more. If any of our fans have suggestions for future podcast episodes, please let us know. Please bother us in our Somnova Studios Discord. Please join us. We're friendly. We don't bite much. But on that note, it's been a fantastic episode this time. Hopefully we can. But for right now, that's all for what we have for today for the Somnova Podcast. We hope to talk to everyone else in the future. But for now, everyone say goodbye, and we'll talk again.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
See you around, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember, we're just gonna